Welcome, Nathan. We are thrilled to have you here today to learn what you've been up to, what you're working on, and get to know you a little bit better. So why don't you kick things off? Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what institution you're representing, what degree program you're in, and where are you from?
All right, thank you. So my name is Nathan Matthews. I am from Seattle, Washington, and I currently go here at Oregon State University. I'm getting a degree in mechanical engineering. So our team is called Wheelchair Mate.
Fantastic. Tell me then, what is Wheelchair Mate? What are you working on?
Wheelchair Mate is an idea that I had a while ago, and so how it works essentially is it is a system of rails that go onto any type of wheelchair that then could have any kind of custom attachment printed and mounted to it for any wheelchair user's accessibility needs.
That sounds really interesting. I know you mentioned we earlier. Tell us about your team. How did you guys get connected with each other, decide to collaborate on this, and what kind of support system have you started to build around yourselves?
It's me and then my teammate Terry Numkalen, who has been working with me since preliminaries. Terry has been instrumental in helping me with all the business sides of things, as well as how just understanding systems, because my brain tends to run off and just go from place to place. And just having Terry be able to condense my crazy ideas into a manageable, recitable frame has just been crucial. Me and Terry met in the DAM Lab, which is the Oregon State Engineering Dorm Makerspace, which is a collaboration between the College of Business and the College of Engineering, which is, I think, kind of nice considering what this project and this InventOR actually is. But so we met there and we've been friends ever since. And since preliminaries, I knew I needed someone to help me out. And so he decided to say, I'll help you out. And so we've moved on since then, and he's just been helping me through it.
It's always incredible to see a team that formed to really heighten each other's strengths and to make sure that you're covering everything you can. That's really cool. And it sounds like this is a real passion project for you. Where did the inspiration for this come from?
It's actually a little bit funny. So when I was 6, I broke my femur. So I was in a wheelchair for a couple months, and I didn't think much of it. I'm a 6-year-old. I can bounce right back. But I did notice some things that were different. Like, I thought, I see ramps all over the place. I see all these wheelchair accessibility things. That must mean it's just as easy to be in a wheelchair as having 2 legs that function, and that's not true. So even now, this year, I ended up going to the student surplus store at Oregon State, and I wheelchair. It was only $15, and I was like, okay, wow, this is really cool. I've always enjoyed looking at these things and working with them because I've been in them. So I was in one for a few months of my life, and so I took it home, and of course, it was broken. It was $15, and I fixed it up, and I started doing my research, and I realized that wheelchairs are incredibly expensive. Just your standard hospital wheelchair costs upwards of $200. I got 15, and I was able to fix it with some parts that I CAD'd and printed myself. So I think that there's a lot of inaccessibility in the medical industry, and there's a lot of inequity, especially financially. So as I was working on my project, I was getting mad because I was moving to and from the makerspace, and I was like, I'm sick of having to of where I'm going to put my phone when I'm moving it, or where I'm going to put my water bottle, or where all this is going to go. So I created the first prototype just out of like my personal need, which was to hold things on my chair. And then I came to realize that this could actually help more than just me.
That is absolutely incredible to take something that you kind of put as a side project to say, I've been interested to see how I can help give people more access or equity in their access to chairs or the technology, and then turn it into, wow, I've identified a problem. I'm going to work on this. That is just incredible. Can you expand a little bit more about why taking on something like this is important?
So there's a lot of inequity in the wheelchair industry, especially in the medical industry. Simple hospital trips can cost, like an ER trip for 5 hours can cost you 1,500 grand, or not 50, $15,000. It's incredibly expensive, and it's incredibly unfair to those who have financial gaps. And so I think it's really important to bring together. I think it's important to be able to bring people who are from different financial areas together to be able to have the same accessibility options. Because wheelchairs, I'm not sure if most people are not aware, your standard custom wheelchair that like a person in a manual wheelchair uses is about 15 grand, which is an insane amount of money. And then you go in to consider with a power wheelchair for someone who has even less mobility, that can cost upwards of 50 grand. And even with medical insurance, that's still way too much, especially because they require replacement and repair almost yearly. It's an insane amount just to live in our world, which is a price too heavy to pay, I think, just to have the right to exist. So I think it's very important that we make a system that is universal for all wheelchairs, so that it can attach to any type of wheelchair, so that anyone in the wheelchair community can make something for themselves, and then anyone else can use the exact same thing to solve their own problems. Because currently, no one's really doing this sort of stuff. No one's helping solve these problems other than the medical industry themselves, who's upcharging by $50 to $100 for just a cup holder.
That is so deeply impactful, Nathan. What an amazing thing you're taking under. But it is a big undertaking. What are some of the challenges and obstacles that you've run into already or that are coming down the road?
One of the big ones that we've had to deal with is dealing with the two types of wheelchairs. So, as I briefly touched on earlier, there are manual chair users who often their legs do not function, but their arms are good enough to be able to push themselves around in a manual chair. And then there are power chair users who often do not have the arm strength or coordination required to move themselves in a manual chair, so they have to use a power chair, which has batteries and a control stick, and you can move yourself around. And both of them have very different requirements for what they want in a chair. Power chair users require something that's a little bit more constant, steady. Like if they attach something, it's probably never going to get removed. It's very important that it is always there. Now, for a manual chair user, they want something, because they have a lot more freedom of upper body movement, and they want something that they can put on for a moment and then be able to take it off almost immediately, just for a quick put on and release motion, so that they can change stuff on the go and as they need it. Designing for both of those spectrums is very difficult, because we have to make something that is both incredibly sturdy and permanent, but easy to remove at the exact same time. So because we want this rail to be universal between both, creating something like that is more difficult than we first perceived.
It really sounds like you've put a lot of work into understanding your consumers. This is incredible. This is definitely a big part of Invent Oregon, is understanding who you're designing for. So I'm curious, what inspired you to go on to take this into Invent Oregon?
So when I first designed it, I was like, okay, this is a good idea, but I didn't think of a way to really get it off the ground. I didn't know any wheelchair users personally. I wasn't like, I'm just gonna go find people, work on this project, even though I didn't have any way to go forward. It was okay. I think this project has kind of reached its end, and if I meet someone with a wheelchair, maybe I'll suggest it to them. And then actually, Dale McCauley, the head of the makerspace in the engineering dorms, told me about InventOR, and said, "Well, so yeah, you actually have this is a really good idea, and I think you could go far with it in InventOR." And I was like, "Okay." So on a whim, a week before I applied, and I spent that week just grinding out new prototypes. I worked really hard that first week, and then so that's kind of what. And then the judges apparently really liked it, so then we moved on to semifinals.
Oh, it definitely sounds like you have found the right place for you then to keep moving forward with this. What do you hope to get out of being in Invent Oregon? What do you want to learn or achieve through working on this?
I think one of the big things that's well, because obviously I want to help people. I think that's what I first came into this project with, is that I want to be able to help people move on and exist better in our world. But outside of that, I think being able to understand people from different backgrounds is super, super important to me, because I feel that if you don't understand where other people are coming from, then you truly can't understand the full picture of an idea or a concept. You have to understand all ideas and all points of view. And so being able to actually go up to people in wheelchairs and say, "Hey, do you mind taking a look at this idea I had? Will this help you? Is this annoying? Is this slow? Is it clunky? Is it in your way? Is it useful? What can I do to make it better? What would you like to have on it?" It gives me a view into something that I never would have had otherwise. And on top of that, I was incredibly surprised to learn that people in the wheelchair community have been really excited about this. it's important for them that someone actually cares about this, because I was thinking, oh no, there's tons of people who've made something similar, because the idea seemed pretty novel to me, but they were really excited. They're like, okay, wow, this is a really good idea. No one has made this before, and I'm excited to see it actually come to fruition.
Well, I think I already know the answer to my next question, but tell me what makes you stand out to the judges? What separates you other than your amazing altruism?
I think one of the big things that separates us, besides the fact that, well, so personally, we're not going to be running this for profit. Our main goal is just to make life more livable for people in wheelchairs, which that I think that's what we're talking about with altruism. But one of the other big reasons that like kind of separates us from other contestants and other teams is that we're here just simply to try something new. We want to reach as many people as possible with an idea that maybe has never been seen before. And I think this is an amazing platform to start with, and it's an amazing platform to build it on and actually get it to the people who need it. Because I think a project without a place to start just kind of dies in a back corner in the internet. And I think it's important that we actually push it forward and say, would this help you? And talking to the community that it most affects and most benefits.
I know you're just starting your innovation and entrepreneurship journey. And as you're going through this and you've met other people, other folks in InventOR again, and other people trying to work on their innovations, what's most important for you as a new entrepreneur, as a new innovator, to see from yourself and from others?
I think it's really important that we remember the reason we started. I think that oftentimes when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship, it can become easy to get wrapped up in the rewards and the promise of good things to come while forgetting why we started what we were doing in the first place. I think the way our world is built, it becomes very easy to do that. Just to start with a good idea and a good intention and move on to wanting more and more. And so one of the main goals and one of the main things that makes is important to me is to have our consumers be the first person, the most important part of our journey. I want them to be at the center of our idea. I don't want to move on from them. I don't want to move to use them or use them for profit. I want to just be able to sell them the product that they want at the lowest price humanly possible so that they can just exist.
That is absolutely incredible, Nathan. I hope that there's many more entrepreneurs like you out there and we see some of these wonderful changes come through. We really wish you the best of luck on your journey and cannot wait to see where you go from here. It's been wonderful talking with you today, and we look forward to hearing more.
Thank you so much.